My name is Mia, and I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. I had been dating Liam for exactly 1 year, and he was perfect. He was handsome, kind, and he always knew how to make me laugh. For our first anniversary, Liam surprised me with a big gift. He bought tickets for a 5-day trip to a luxury beach resort in Bali. I was so excited because we had never traveled together before. I spent weeks buying new dresses and planning our activities. I imagined us walking on the sand and watching the sunset every evening. It was supposed to be the most romantic week of my life. When we arrived at the airport, Liam seemed a bit nervous. He kept checking his watch and looking around the terminal. I thought he was just stressed about the long flight. The resort was beautiful, with white sand and clear blue water. Our room had a large balcony with a view of the entire ocean. "This is paradise," I told him as we unpacked our bags. However, the paradise feeling did not last very long. On the first night, Liam said he had a terrible headache. He told me to go to the hotel restaurant alone for dinner. I felt a little sad, but I wanted him to rest and feel better. I went downstairs and had a quiet meal by the pool. When I returned to the room, Liam was not in bed. I heard his voice coming from the balcony, speaking very softly. He was on the phone, and his tone was sweet and intimate. "I miss you too," he whispered into the dark night. My heart stopped, and I stayed very still behind the curtain. "Don't worry, she doesn't suspect a thing," Liam continued. "I will meet you at the beach bar in 20 minutes. I felt like I couldn't breathe as I hid in the bathroom. I heard him leave the room a few moments later. My hands were shaking as I realized my perfect boyfriend was a stranger. I waited 5 minutes. Then I followed him quietly through the resort. The moon was bright, and the air was warm and smelled like flowers. I saw Liam walking toward a small, private bar near the water. A woman was sitting at a table in the corner, waiting for him. She was wearing a beautiful red dress and had long, dark hair. When she saw Liam, she stood up and hugged him tightly. I stood behind a large palm tree, watching them from the shadows. Liam didn't look like a man with a headache anymore. He looked happy, and he was holding her hand across the table. I felt a mix of deep sadness and burning anger in my chest. This was our first trip, our special anniversary celebration. He had planned this trip to meet another woman using our time together. I took out my phone and took several clear photos of them. I wanted to have proof, so he could not lie to me later. My eyes were full of tears, but I didn't let them fall. I walked back to our room and started to pack my suitcase. Every shirt I folded felt like a memory I was throwing away. I realized that our entire year together was probably a lie. I found Liam's tablet on the nightstand, and it wasn't locked. I opened the messages and saw a long conversation with the woman. Her name was Sophia, and they had been together for 2 years. Liam had told Sophia that he was going to Bali for a business trip. He even told her to book a room at the same resort so they could see each other. He was using me as a cover for his secret holiday. I sat on the bed and waited for him to return to the room. It was nearly midnight when I heard his keycard in the door. He walked in, smiling and pretending to be sleepy. "How was your dinner, Mia?" he asked, acting like nothing happened. I didn't answer him. I just pointed to the photos on my phone. His smile disappeared instantly, and his face turned gray. "Who is Sophia, Liam?" I asked in a very quiet, cold voice. He tried to speak, but no words came out of his mouth. He looked at my packed suitcase and knew he was caught. He started to make excuses, saying it was complicated and he didn't want to hurt me. I didn't want to hear his voice or his fake apologies. I had heard enough "I love you" lies for 1 year. I called the hotel reception and asked them to move me to a different room. I told Liam that he had 10 minutes to leave the suite. "Go stay with Sophia," I said, "since you love this resort so much." He tried to grab my arm to stop me, but I stepped back. "Don't touch me ever again," I warned him with a look of fire. He finally picked up his bag and walked out into the hallway. I spent the rest of the night crying, but I also felt a sense of relief. I was glad I found out the truth now, instead of 5 years later. I was strong, and I didn't need a liar in my life. The next morning, I didn't go home early or hide in my room. I put on my favorite new dress and went to the beach. I ordered a large breakfast and looked at the beautiful ocean. I saw Liam and Sophia near the pool later that afternoon. They looked miserable and were arguing loudly in front of everyone. I walked past them with my head held high and a smile on my face. Our first trip was a disaster, but it was also a great lesson. I learned that I deserve someone who treats me with honesty and respect. I spent the next 4 days exploring Bali by myself. I made new friends, ate amazing food, and took beautiful photos of the temples. It wasn't the romantic trip I planned, but it was a journey of freedom. I returned home as a different woman. I blocked Liam's number and never spoke to him again after that trip. He lost a woman who loved him, but I only lost a liar. My first trip with a boyfriend was my last trip with a coward.